I'm sure all of my ads are gonna be fucked.
I don't know if I run ads. I'm fairly certain I do because it's affiliate, but
Well,
I
if
don't
you're
know
an
how to control
affiliate, you
them
run
yet.
ads.
I don't know how to control that.
Yeah.
Also, why can't I clip my own channel? Oh, I can't clip my own channel because I'm not live. There we go.
Well, that's probably a good reason for it. I pushed the go live button on mine, so at least I assume we're streaming now. I mean, it is the time, right? It's the time we decided upon. I hope it's the time we decided upon. Because if it's not the time we decided upon, hmm.
Big ball. Ah. Is it the good one or the bad one? You said it's. Oh, it's the one with a lot of buttons. Oh, interesting. No, I'm not. What about now? I updated. Huh? Huh? Yeah, it's fine for me. Oh, I do actually need to do that. Okay, I saw Banicula go up.
Now
I guess
Banicula's
if
everybody
I
up.
gets to
go,
see us with our.
I guess if I go here, then I'm running.
Now Ilias needs to go up.
I
It
have too
was
many streams
trippy an
running.
hour ago.
Too many
I
streams
had
running.
Oh no, what's wrong, Astro Bride? No transcoding. What the fuck? Oh, come on, affiliate. Give me my transcoding, please.
Oh yeah, you've gone completely pixelated on my screen.
I have?
Yeah,
What?
through the video. Oh, that
Oh
might be
boy.
because you're on the lower little right hand side of my screen. Is that me? That might just be me. Hold on.
I can slap my PNG in your stream if you need it.
That sounds like a
Yeah, it looks like
interesting
I'm viewing
discussion.
you through a clouded lens, at least on my stream here. Let's try this.
Iliath, are you seeing that same thing?
No,
Because it
you're
looks
coming
okay
through
on the
fine for
video
me.
ninja. All right. Error is occurring somewhere between Citrus and keyboard.
Now I've got you expanded considerably on my screen.
Ah,
Oh,
I got you.
that's it. Bonnie's large on your screen. That's the problem.
Yeah, Bonnie's larger.
I,
Like when I
I
drop you
could get
down, it's
bigger. I
fine.
could get smaller. I
Ah.
could get bigger.
Well, now you're miss. Okay. Um,
Okay,
not
Twitch,
exactly.
reload Citrus's stream because I need to be able to see his chat so I can respond to those
Welcome to
people.
the pre-show chat.
Yep.
We are uh please make yourselves at home. We are
Yes.
setting up.
We had
You get to
everything
see the
set up and then
sausage
we
being
broke it again,
made.
There we go.
apparently.
No,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily broken. It's because the last time when we were testing this manipulator, you were testing it in the middle of your, you had your model dead center
Yes, I
on your
apologize.
video.
Yes. I did break it. I am sorry.
Okay,
It's fine.
there we go.
Because if you
Okay.
mess around with it on your end,
I mess it
then
up
it
on
messes
your
up
end.
your setup.
Yeah.
Oh, Astro
Ah.
won't be modding this one for you, Bonnie, apparently. We'll just have to learn to mod ourselves.
Thank you for the hydrate, Citrus. That's so nice
Yours
of you.
is
It's like you
considerably
just
more expensive. I can't do that for you, Ilya.
So you just
Um,
passed me a cup of coffee. Thank you.
Yeah, well, to get it to work for me, you see, mine has extra features. Oh, actually, I need to turn one thing off.
Oh, I need to turn
I
those
I
off.
have a redeem that triggers something that I'm not going to run on this stream.
What do you mean crunchy? Quaffle, is there a problem?
There are probably lots of crunchiness.
Bond crunchy. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's just her model.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine.
It's fine.
And now she's going
Actually,
crunchy for
hold
me
on.
too. But hey, you know, that's fine.
What? Oh
We
no.
you'll recover again when your network bandwidth improves. The
Oh
beatings
no,
will
it's
continue
me?
until morale improves. You know.
Let's actually do this.
If you're watching other
There we go.
people's
That should.
streams, drop the video quality down as low as you can. That'll actually really help.
I ain't watching nobody.
Oh, apparently you. Wow.
I'm
Okay.
lurking in both of your streams,
Okay.
so that might be it. No, I'm just lurking on both of your streams, so that shouldn't be killing my quality. I've got only like 5% of my CPU running.
Well, I
and
mean, it
zero
also
drop
is going to
frames.
use the bandwidth from things for download and stuff.
Oh,
and...
scheisse.
Yeah.
Hey, it's German.
I don't have. I need to add my stream elements into this scene. I forgot.
Oh.
Hey, Quaffle, you want to test out the lurk command? Because I think I got it right.
There we go.
Actually, can I do this by popping out chat? Can I pop out chat? Will it let me pop out chat?
Hey, oh, it works. It's also very small, so I'm actually going to move the chat box.
No, apparently I'm not allowed to do that.
There we go.
Okay. Speaking
Mr.
of which,
Man
do
is
I actually
advancing.
have people in my chat? Aside from all of my random... Wow, I got a bunch of those bots back. I thought I killed most of these
Oh my goodness.
buggers off, but, okay.
You know what? Whenever we're done, I've got a video that apparently teaches you how to write a script, which will auto ban the lot. And then I've got an extensive list of just random lurker bots that I haven't
Oh.
acted on yet. But one of these days, I'm gonna go on stream and say it is time and ban about 400 bots.
Well, I'm not
So-
planning on doing an entire mass bot ban. I've been slowly going through and banning bots as I'm noticing them hanging around. And at the moment, I have a bunch of them on mine, so. But I think we're ready. We're ready, aren't we?
We're ready. Let's.
Should be, yeah.
Okay.
Let me.
Oh, wait, I need to adjust my hydrate. Pardon me for a
Okay.
moment.
Yeah. Adjust
Um,
thine hydrate.
Well, I need to
I'll,
quickly ruin everyone's screens for a sec.
Reminds me, how many bots do I have in my channel? Oh, I found 2. Let's go.
So I need to change that to
Murder
blood.
the cyborgs later.
There we go. But yeah, okay, so now that's there. And if I go here and just to show Citrus why my hydrate is more expensive.
You're streaming electric longboard. There we go.
Yeah. That's why mine is
That's
more
a-
expensive.
I see.
Oh, it's tied with an animation. Got it.
So
Astro Bride, if you're present in chat, can you please confirm for me that Iliath and Citrus are audible?
Wham. There we go. I just kicked out all my bots. We're fine.
That didn't work.
Plot twist, I'm a bot. Well, you were probably the most expressive AI that I've seen in a while. So if you happen to be a bot, Quaffle, I take my hat off to your maker. Also wonder if your maker could send a bit more my way. No, I jest. That hesitation was sus. Yes.
Oh, and then I should pull up the list of random bollocks we're going to talk about. Well, we talked about talking about whether or not we're actually going to talk
They are
about that,
audible.
not talk about
Hello,
something
Space
else.
Buffoon. Welcome. We are
text.
we're smashing bots. Okay, that's
Well,
good
they're
to hear.
smashing bots. I'm not going to mess with bots at the moment, so... Actually, I can put this over here because I'm not playing a game, so I don't need to use my tiny screen to
I see.
pay attention to chat. Oh, this would be nice.
Properties.
Oh, and I should switch that to the correct
Click
account
font,
as opposed to the one that it
gradient,
keeps trying to
background
send me
color.
in as.
Select color. Background. Okay. Background opacity. There we go.
Okay,
There we go.
so we have a bunch of things.
Yay, there we
I
go.
am the
Okay, I got my
ultimate bot,
collab
unsmashable.
announcer to work properly. Oh boy. Making sausage live on stream. I hate that people have to see it, but I hope it's...
It's not a VTuber stream.
Educational.
It's not a scuff stream.
Is this scuff?
Now I'm just imagining that meme.
Do I look like I know what a JPEG is?
Okay. So we were going to have a bit of a discussion about random psychology bollocks related to VTubing, weren't we?
Yes, that was the idea.
So who's supposed to be like emceeing this? I think it was you, wasn't it, Bonnie?
You specifically said you wanted it chaos mode.
Well, that's true. I did want a chaos mode.
You
but
said
we should
no
have...
MCs, no gods, no masters, and I am here to oblige.
Oh, no gods.
but
Oh, well,
that
then I should leave then.
That said, probably a good start would be a round of introductions.
That's probably a good choice, yeah.
Yeah. Who would like to go first? Iliath, do you want to introduce yourself?
I always want to introduce myself, but whether I should go first or not's another question.
You
Sure, I won't. Why not? I'll go first. So, my name's Iliath the Fae. I am a perfectly normal human doing perfectly normal human things. And at the moment, yeah, VTube. What do I normally do? What I normally do on my channel is highlight a bunch of indie games, and try to play through them. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Citrus, how about yourself?
Hello, my name is Citrus Catastrophe. I am the VTuber owner of the Citrus Mart, home of the freshest of fruit and the finest of memes. I am here in this collab basically to talk about my experiences in the VTuber community as well as talk shop with a lot of stuff that I've seen on the Bluebird app as well as conversations I've had with a bunch of other people.
Boobs
And I
aren't
hope it's
real.
going to be a really good time.
Yeah, I think so. I am
Well, now-
Banicula. I am the inheritor of a cursed castle, and I can't leave. But I can astrally project myself out into streams. So here we are, talking about mental health, VTubing, community management, and disasters, and the various pitfalls that one can fall into in these things. So yes, let's see. Iliath, do you have that document open?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Do you want to lead us in on a topic?
Geez, you make me think about things first. Geez, why would I go first? You know,
Citrus, you can do it.
Yeah,
you,
we'll make
you wrote the
Citrus go
dang
first.
thing.
I was just copying stuff that I wanted to touch on.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Well, I'll do a little preamble then.
Do we want to talk about what this whole thing is to start off with?
I think that's probably the better choice rather than going into specific topics straight away.
Sure thing. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
my understanding about what Insanity we'd actually planned on doing was that we were going to be mostly sort of talking about the idea of what goes on for the streamer, what might go on for the viewers, um, why people might want to get into VTubing, why they might not want to get into VTubing, what's good, bad, hangs in between, and also sort of the interactions between people on that nature. So it's such a very small and narrow topic field that it shouldn't be too hard for us to catch up on pretty quickly.
Sure, but lots and lots of ramifications and rabbit holes we can chase down. And chat, obviously, everybody, we are simulcasting this talk to everybody's individual streams. So if anybody in any individual chat would like to chime in with a question or some input into what we're discussing, that is also welcome.
Yes. And speaking of random welcomeness, I need to actually I need to retweet that we're actually live now because I didn't do that myself.
Yeah.
Rips.
If they miss it, they miss it.
Not me doing the same mistake.
No. Oh, okay. So you didn't do that either. Oh, good. Well, then, see, we're all fantastic people who don't forget anything.
Yes, we are the Fantastic Three, kept having pending.
I'll replay the logo.
Huh. Coming soon to a theater near you. And unlike Secrets of Dumbledore, it will not, in fact, be nerfed into the ground via the advertising companies.
Yeah.
They do not expect that movie to do well.
Yeah, I was like, there's another movie. Yeah, so anyway,
there you go.
The original conception for doing the stream in the first place, we got our heads together after I posted a random tweet. I woke up with a strange thought, I guess, about it had occurred to me that just kind of anecdotally watching the VTubing community and the conversations that people were having, it seemed to me that there are a lot of people in the VTubing community who have ADHD, anxiety or depression, dysphoria or trauma that they're pretty open about for reasons that we can get into regarding the anonymity or partial or complete anonymity of using a virtual avatar. People are pretty open about that. And it occurred to me that it was kind of interesting that perhaps there might be something attractive about VTubing itself. Specifically, I started thinking about how perhaps odd it must seem to people who are not used to piloting a a remote avatar. How odd the art form may seem to them, but that it is potentially something relatively accessible and familiar to somebody with, for instance, ADHD or trauma or dysphoria, because often the sort of disassociation from one's body that sort of mental health condition can or can bring about is not entirely unlike operating a virtual avatar. I feel about as disconnected from my own body, for instance, as I do from my my VC face 3D model. And we sort of all came together in that thread, just sort of thinking like, hey, should we talk more about not just that, but like it seems like there's a mine to dig out on that. Um, so yeah, if y'all want to chime in on what I guess initially like you were thinking, or what caught your interest in the topics that we've kind of laid out.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that sort of attracted me to it is given what I do outside of VTubing. I'm for those who don't know, I'm currently a graduate student working on my doctorate in clinical psychology. So the whole idea of this is a form of connecting with people that is, I won't say abnormal, because it's actually very normalized in a lot of areas, but it was unexpected. I mean, I ran across it by accident, to be honest. And that's actually something I think we should probably sort of talk a little bit about as well when we get to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so yeah, for me, it was sort of this. I came across it by accident. It seems like a perfect thing. It allows me to do something I've been wanting to do for a while, and so I was sort of thinking, well, I have it for professional reasons, but there's got to be people who have it for other reasons, and so there's a lot of extension that comes from that I think we're sort of missing when we sort of try to address things just generally. So, yeah.
Hello, Smoking Bandit. Welcome to the chat. Yes, and Citrus, you sort of mentioned similar things in your Twit Longer, which was very well written, by the way. If anybody would like to sort of read in depth some of Citrus's thoughts that he put out on Twitter, the Twit Longer is a good read. It even has footnotes. It has a bibliography.
I'll see if I can pin that.
Yeah, pin that or throw
oh yeah,
it in.
my initial pin doesn't exist anymore because I actually did get into the tournament, so I don't need to pin that anymore.
Mazel tov.
That's nice.
But yeah, you sort of mentioned in your preamble to your Twit Longer some of the reasons that attracted you. But yeah, maybe you can share some of those for the those that don't feel like Twit Longer hunting.
Yeah. So initially, when I started writing this Twit Longer about 3 weeks ago, and I had intended to write it about 2 days, slap the seal of approval and call it a day, but after writing it for about a... Indeed. Unfortunately, A, I could not find a seal, B, it was too expensive, and C, after the day and a half, I just sat on the last paragraph because I do not like closure. But the entire piece was basically designed as kind of a self-reflection on everything I've seen, all the people I've seen, all the communities and topics and discussions, and some pain, some loss, some anger, a lot of divisiveness, but a considerable amount of positivity within the VTuber community. Prior to this, I was very much involved with the hashtag writing community on Twitter, so I had a comparison in between, um, you might say, how members of that community or that pseudo community, depending on how you put it, interact with each other over the Bluebird app. So I decided to write down my experiences in about 4.5 months on the VTuber community, and I hope to have many more VTuber months in the Bluebird community as well. Though that all being said, it's not going to help if I can't speak right. So,
You're doing just
but yeah,
fine.
one of the things, or the way that I initially got into it was, I was going through a really rough patch at my past full-time job, and really just sitting alone in my apartment with no friends because they were all in college and all of the other work people were doing their own thing. Also, I had no one my age. I decided to throw on Twitch, and right around that time, the famous not YouTuber, Twitch streamer named Tectone was doing an uncapped subathon. So this man was going for 21, 23 days straight.
Oof.
And it was just him going and going and going. And while he was doing the subathon, he brought on a bunch of VTubers as well. So I kind of absorbed the idea and the novelty of VTubing via osmosis between Tectone's cooking streams and Gordon Ramsay when he was sleeping in bed. So I decided to start going into the VTuber community, and I think that's around the time I met Irisu, the real Irisu on Twitter, and a few other VTubers, so I can't say for sure what their names were. But I thought it was really interesting, and especially coming out of that toxic job where I quit, I'm like, I kind of just need to do something that I really enjoy instead of being yelled at doing something that I don't. So I decided to start scrolling through social media, as someone who has pretty much lost their idea of what they want to do with life for a while. Get into social media, the wisest of decisions. Totally nothing wrong with that. Totally healthy and not going to mess up your sleep schedule at all.
No, certainly not.
But
Right, clearly
What
not.
could
after a
go wrong?
while, yeah,
Yeah, let
after
me
a
count the
while, I
ways.
decided to, hmm, I don't even want to count the ways. I get too depressed. It doesn't help. But anyway,
That's
after a
one.
while, I decided
Uh,
that's actually three. Um, but I decided, you know what? Let's make a worse decision and let's try and see what it takes to become a VTuber. So after spending about 3 months of being a VTweeter and being unable to stream because I didn't have a computer to do it, I then shelled out money to get a computer I'd been planning to get to for a while. I just changed a bit of what I was looking for, and I launched. Wow, what was I doing in my first stream? I think I was just doing Genshin Impact because like many other people, am addicted to rolling casinos
Yeah,
disguised as
that's a
RPGs.
whole topic.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
We'll get to that one.
yeah. That one's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
But after that, I started streaming. This was around the time a lot of my VTuber friends started to blow up. Arisu blew up around this time. A bunch of other
Mhm.
people I knew blew up. I think you started to blow up uh, before I started streaming, but Nicholas, just you got affiliate after I did because you started streaming later. But
Yes.
I got affiliate within the first week.
Yeah, it feels
Started
good.
getting, oh yeah. I've heard stories, so.
Mhm.
Um, we got affiliate within the first week, actually started being pretty heavily involved in another big VTubers community, and we are here, pretty much. And
Here we are.
after reflecting about 4.5 months, I decided to write it down. I'll probably
Yeah.
do another one in about another 4 months.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to another retrospective.
Mhm.
Yeah, similarly, yay. Did that actually play sound for you, Bandit? Let me know because it didn't play through on mine. Um, yeah, I can definitely feel both of you on that on various things that you kind of brought up. I actually had no sound. Fiddlesticks. Oh well, I'll fix that, Redeem. I I actually used to have a large uh following and a podcast that was relatively, for the time, successful. Um, the game has really changed in the last decade, but I uh, I fell away from that project unfortunately because it felt very psychologically unsafe. Uh, Post transition, things in the community that that podcast was centered around would not have made it a very good place to continue doing the work that I was doing there. And unfortunately, I mean, that really took that took a lot out of me. That was a big psychological blow to sort of lose my major form of creative work, and sort of the back catalog of my creative work. Because it just sort of fell off the face of the earth in that regard. Um, and some folks, some the select few came along with me. Um, but then I've ever since then I've kind of tried to find ways of restarting the project, or a different project rather, in a different sort of arena, totally divorced from my previous work, and I couldn't ever really get it to stick. Um, but similarly, I guess sometime last year, as the situations were unfolding, um, I had kind of burnt through my various coping mechanisms, um, and was running dry on the dopamine drip. And hello, Death's Maiden. Thank you for following. I guess I caught VTuber toxoplasmosis when my roommate was like, "Hey, you remember Nyanners? Oh, she's a
Oh boy,
VTuber now."
Nyanners.
And I was like, what the hell is a VTuber? Because I had been, so I would like mildly, like distantly aware of it through sort of similarly the like internet osmosis. I had, I only associated it with like um Japanese Idol, and vocal, like it was all mixed up in my brain with like Vocaloids and Hatsune Miku, and I was like, okay, uh, Yanners is one now, and about three streams later, I'm like, ah, shit, this is Smoky Bandit, we're all connected. Your Yanners apparently wearing a Yanners shirt right now, proving that there are no coincidences. Um, but yeah, it wasn't long before I was like, I can see the benefits of the anonymity. I can see people, I'm kind of jealous of people who can take a pre-existing following and bring it over to their VTubing endeavors. But it seemed to me like a really interesting way to sort of tap into my old passions of doing radio and podcasting, but then also bring in some of my other hobbies and kind of merge them into a Voltron of hobbies, milking my dopamine glands for everything they'll secrete. Um, and I was really surprised when I entered the community and found uh, it seemed to me suspiciously positive at first. And there's perhaps some truth to that, but it didn't take me too long to realize that like there are a lot of like genuinely uh kind and positive people using a medium that really was not didn't exist in the form anywhere resembling the form it does now just a couple years ago. Um, and I was so interested in what one can do in VTubing, what the medium itself is good at. And I
I
wanted to
just want
explore
to
that.
jump right in there. Kind and
Yeah,
positive
yeah, jump on
people? Who? What? Where? What are you talking about?
They're everywhere. Yeah.
Such a
I mean, I
rare
had the
breed.
pleasure of the first I think one of the first like indie when I got on Twitch. I had never really used Twitch before. I was watching clips on YouTube of VTubers and tutorials and stuff like that. But one of the first like indie little VTuber streams I actually sat in on was Squirrel. Squirrel VT's when he was Squirrel of ADHD. It was his first stream as a VTuber. And I just like
Yeah.
randomly found it. I don't know how. I was like, hey, what's up? And he was so positive and kind and nice and sweet. And I was like, huh, surely this is an anomaly.
Not to mention that deep, rich Southern accent.
Oh yeah. Oh boy. He says
Weren't
the
you
word
on Squirrels?
turlet. I love it.
Weren't you on Squirrels interview?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I have somehow
Bunny is apparently too scared to go on to Squirrel's talk show.
Oh, I'm
Hey.
scared.
It's
I'd
probably
suggest
hard
it.
getting authority to leave the castle for stuff like that too. So
Yeah. Yeah, Bandit, you were on with Squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to schedule that because it would be really nice.
yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you guys launched into like why you started streaming. I just sort of touched on it.
If you'd like to expand on that.
Yeah, I
please.
think I will expand on it a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to stream since back when Twitch was founded. And for various reasons, I never wound up doing it. Either I had work commitments that got in the way, or when I went back to start becoming, start getting myself some of that education that I keep hearing about. I sort of didn't have time for that reason, and now I'm expanded past that to a point where I'm now sort of having to start thinking about when you become a clinical psychologist, if you say something publicly that someone gets upset about, it actually puts your license in jeopardy. And so, it's well, I don't really want people to be able to recognize me now. So there was a whole bunch of, oh crap, am I ever going to wind up streaming and just doing the hanging out with people and chatting about games that I really enjoy? And this is going to sound really weird and roundabout because everyone sort of talks about. I hear from a lot of VTubers. I'll say this way: I hear from a lot of VTubers about how they got pulled in due to Hololive, or they got pulled in due to the Annas, or some big name VTuber, most of whom I don't know from a bar of soap. I don't. I know one person in Hololive, which is Gura.
The
And
biggest.
the biggest. Okay. All right. Cool. I only know of her because of one of the discords I'm in. People keep constantly spamming the image of her from Giphy, which is, you know, her opening her mouth and the A in the middle. So
Uh-huh.
it's like
Iconic.
literally I have no idea anything more about the character other than it seems to be sort of shark related. And so my introduction to VTubers was actually sort of funny. I follow a lot of skeptic and atheist YouTube content, and one of the YouTubers, right about the end of last year, whose streams I've been sort of catching up on, had a family tragedy. His wife passed away in the middle of the night, stroke. Mid-30s. He and her went to bed, and she didn't wake up in the morning. Which of course threw him for a bit of a loop. Quite a bit of a loop, considering he has kids and things like this. And their only source of household income became him. And he only made money through YouTube. But he had all this other stuff to get done. So what happened is the atheist community sort of banded together and started doing filler videos for him. And so I sit here and think about this, and it's like, okay, well, how does this lead to VTubing? Well, one of the people who came on is a guy by the name of Necosaurus. I won't tell people to go there now, but he is streaming right now. And his video was him doing basically an edited version of his Twitch feed with him in as Slime Girl Cirrus wearing the Virgin Killer sweater. And so here's this guy playing a female character through a VTube model and all this sort of stuff, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I have to catch one of his streams because his content seemed good, and so I wanted to watch it more and see what it was like unedited. Because, you know, you see the edited content and you go, oh, well, you know, they've done all this back and forth and sort of saving themselves and all that sort of stuff. So
Right.
let's see what it's like without that editing. And yeah, his content is great. If you're into left-leaning politics, I say left-leaning because if you're not from the US originally, you look at most of the politics in the US and you laugh because it's so far right compared to everybody else that the left has never even seen them with a Hubble.
Fact.
But so he's left-leaning, and he's also, you know, does a lot of the atheist and skeptic content, but he also covers a whole bunch of other stuff. So, oh, hang on a sec, I need to say hi to one of my people in my stream. Hey Spacey, how you doing? And there we go, him throwing stuff at me, as typical. And now, of course, I have to use my... Oh, what? My redeem didn't... That one didn't work? Oh, that's right, because I didn't put an S on it. Okay. He's one of my mods, and so I have a special shout out command just for him. Um, anyway, this guy's content's pretty good, all this sort of stuff. And so here I am watching it. He's running a live 2D model. It looks really cool. I'm sort of going, well, this, looks sort of interesting. So then all I would need to do is, if I did that myself, all I need to do is run some sort of voice mod so that people couldn't recognize my voice, and I could go ahead and stream and not have to worry about licensure problems. And at the end of that very first stream, he did the weirdest thing I've ever seen somebody do. He rated a very small streamer who was in the process of creating free Vroid models for the community.
Oh, cute.
And so literally we jumped in like 150 people on this person's channel.
Oh.
Boosted her to affiliate in like overnight pretty much. Just the number of new followers and all that sort of things. And so that was actually really great. But I got to watch what she was doing and find out the program she was using and find out that this stuff was free. And pretty much within a week of catching that first stream, I wound up I wound up running my first stream, and that was back in December. So
Nice.
That's what got me into it. But what also got me into it was the fact that everyone I'd met up until that point, either through talking in Twitch channels or talking in Discords, all seemed interested in doing things that were helpful or beneficial to others in some way. So, very much a good community.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, specifically, what kind of things were you seeing that people were like the kind of like community helping or
well, there was
the
a lot
pro-social behaviors that caught your eye?
Yeah, well, the big things that caught my eye were a lot of people who were clearly in some sort of state, physically and mentally, that made it difficult for them to work regular jobs, that were getting support to reach affiliate status, which viewers who don't know, affiliate status is the first way you can actually make money on Twitch. It's the first way through Twitch. Let's put it that way.
Right.
There are many other ways you can make money on Twitch, but getting affiliate is the first step through Twitch itself. And so there's a lot of benefit out of that for those streamers. I mean, some of them have actually got quite a long ways. Other people, just helping people out by, here, let's get your model going, or let's get this, or let's solve this tech problem, or, what can we do? There's a guy I know in Argentina who the community came together over a couple of weeks and wound up getting him the money together to be able to get a proper video card so we can actually stream properly. And it wasn't one person dropping $100 or something. It was this person throwing in 5 and that person throwing in 10 and, stuff like that. Just the little tiny bits of help, because that's all people could afford. But at the same time, it was something people could do. And also the other things that people do, which is just going to people's streams and watching and talking and retweeting and some of those discussions. Now, I was also seeing a lot of the negative side of things, which we'll probably wind up talking about a little later. But
looking Spacey, hi.
Oh, you wound up getting Spacey coming over to your channel too. He does that. Pickles floats around. It's probably all that brine he hangs out in. But yeah, no, actually, Spacey's a good example of someone who both helped and was helped by the community. He basically got to affiliate in the shortest time I think it's possible, which I think is technically 7 days.
It's a
Can't remember.
7-day minimum. Same thing with me.
Yeah. So he was
Samantha
basically
raid.
affiliate status
Hello,
from
Samantha.
third day, but they couldn't send it to him until the end of everything. So the end of the week. But that was all
Thank
for.
you so much for the raid, Samantha. It's good to see you. Hello.
Hi, Raiders.
Hello, Snaifu.
I will jump on other people's channels and say hi like that because hey, we're co-streaming really. So yeah, that was pretty much yeah. Well, he says he got lucky, but I think he had it all planned from the outset. So,
Do you have did you have similar experiences early on, Citrus, looking at the community and sort of seeing some of the ways the community operates in terms of like examples of positivity, or at least express positivity or mutual aid or anything like that?
So I've seen mutual aid by proxy via following and interacting with a lot of other people on Twitter. Most of the people in my circles were all mutual friends. So you can probably know the individuals I'm talking about. I've already spoken about Arisu at length. There's a couple other mass retweeters. Sarinu, the VTuber retweeter slime, was very much involved with them as they were supporting VTubers and helping them out with their profiles. Biggest instance of generosity that I can think of is probably the one that's the most familiar with common Western audiences. Iron Mouse, in particular, suffers from a uh, unspecified I think she's immunocompromised from an unspecified disorder. But she's basically locked in her house, in her room, and it's really hard to get around, really basically almost impossible for her to get outside due to her health. So at one point, she started a stream that was effectively supposed to be a fundraiser. She wanted a desk, or she wanted $2,000 basically to improve her setup, so she didn't have to stream from her bed
Mhm.
this whole time, and she raised over 2,000 in the span of first 15 minutes of the stream. So that was I would say one of the first initial ones that went viral in terms of particularly grandiose generosity.
Mhm.
I've seen several instances where I would be in somebody else's stream and I would see effectively an entire paycheck or a weekly paycheck go right by my eyes in the span of a 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And it's really interesting when that happens because usually I mean, when you see that kind of money being thrown at you, regardless of how much Twitch is taking a pay out of it, like it's 50-50 per tier 1, 60-40 tier 2, you only get a
Yeah.
cent out of every 100 bits. Um, it's still an incredible amount of generosity, gratitude, and there's a wellspring of emotions that occur. And usually, as part of the chat, you might see people say, okay, streamer is obviously emotional, let's keep going. And suddenly more money starts being flown in front of your eyes. I'm like, huh, that just happened. But I'd
Well,
say suddenly
apologies.
cucumber.
No, pickle. It's a pickle.
Pickle, okay.
I'll never complain. That's fine.
I'm gonna put the pickle on my head. Okay,
Yeah,
there we
put
go.
that pickle on.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have a channel redeem where people can stick things on me. So
Samantha, you shouldn't have. Oh, Samantha, thank you very much for the sub. That's very kind of you, darling. um, yeah, I think you just touched on sort of, I think one of the that's an interesting branch that we could walk down at some point of the other side of, okay, so one can get into VTubing because it's an interesting art medium. It allows you to express yourself in a certain way. It provides certain psychological benefits. But then there's also, I suppose, the like, well, we don't talk about that. There's the promise or dream of uh hidden it big. And like one of the things that I noticed about your twit longer, where you were talking about sort of, um the I think you were sort of um drawing the distinction between a community of friends and people who are associated by interest, and then a community of people who are, as it were, coworkers of a sort, that who are professionals in a in an industry. And VTubing is sometimes one or the other or both of those things. And it can get a little confusing for people, I think, when you're not sure whether you are doing something in a professional capacity, or you're doing something in a creative capacity, or in a pro social, in a social capacity.
I'm very unprofessional,
Because we do
so
all of those. You're very unprofessional.
yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say so.
So, in particular to my twit longer, I did talk about entrepreneurial freelancing, which is effectively what people are doing when you're going indie. And even depending on the company you're going in with, you're still pretty much entrepreneurial. You have a lot of talents nowadays in pretty much wherever they're going. They're still doing a lot of stuff themselves. They just have much more latitude and different options. And it also depends on exactly what they're doing in pretty much the company. So, for example, if we take Hollow Live, which is overall actually bigger than Niji Sanji, when you think of the two largest companies in the VTuber industry, those are the two. I believe Hollow Live. Actually, don't remember if it was Hollow Live or Niji Sanji first. All I know is that Hollow Live only has 53-ish 53 members, give or take 2, and Hololive is 213, give or take 3.
Talents? They have that many
Talents
talents?
in general, yeah.
That's so
You'd be
much. That's
surprised.
such a bigger number than I thought.
Oh, yeah. Niji Sanji in particular is spread between 107 talents. I call it Niji Sanji bulk, but it's basically the large portion of their Chinese area. I mean, Chinese market. Oh, thank you, Lookin' Spacey. Thank you for
Yes.
joining the community.
And thank you for the follow over
They are
here too,
then
Looking Spacey.
further split into Niji Sanji virtual real stars, which comprise most of their streamers who are on Bilibili, the Chinese platform, around 40 of those. Then you have roughly 40 to 20 individual members in Niji Sanji Korea, Niji Sanji EN, and then Niji Sanji Indonesia. Indonesia itself is actually folding back in with Niji Sanji Real because their individual branching got moved. But while I was talking about entrepreneurial, one thing I touched on was the concept of content creation from the VTuber community largely borrows language most associated with the idol industry via corporate, because that's pretty much how it took off.
Sure.
We had one YouTuber who did virtual blogs or vlogs on YouTube, and they used a 3D model, very basic. At the time, back in 2009, 2010, it was, you might say, Sims-ish in quality, but it was one of the first of its kind. Kizuna AI came after that around 2015, 2016, and that was the first concentrated point where an industry decided we're going to take a virtual idol representation and structure an entertainment brand around an individual. And from there, it basically took off. Yagu, the founder of I don't remember if it was Covercore or Hololive. I don't remember where he started. Um, believed he could take it a step further, and thus he launched his Gen Zero of virtual YouTubers, attempting to create an industry where such a thing was common. 50 some odd stars later, with a considerable reach across not only China and Japan, but catching into the Western audiences because a lot of the virtual um, VTubers, that's an oxymoron statement, sorry, all of the VTubers looked anime-esque,
Mhm.
and you started to have the beginnings of the VTuber industry. So a lot of language that we use, debuts, costumes, collaborations, comes largely from that community because that's how a lot of people got into it. There may be slight differences depending on if you entered the community when it was 2008, 2018, 2017, or whether if you came into it now, the past pandemic years of 2020, 2021, and 2022. Um,
2023, 2024, 2075, 2076. Sorry, what?
we have to get to 2075. I feel like there's going to be a couple
Fat
significant
chance.
roadblocks for that one.
Good luck. Bye, chickens.
2077 rocks around.
Cyberpunk.
No, I was thinking of some other 2077.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting to track that history, you know, and the reason why it creates the certain like group cultures, the like group identity of like, if you are a VTuber, you adopt these shibboleths of like, you know, collab, say so, whatever, you know, and it there are these group cultures like, are you gonna debut? You didn't debut? Oh my god, why didn't you debut? You know,
I'm
or
say
whatever,
so.
you know. Huh?
I'm say so.
You're say so. You're the say sontist.
Yeah, well, not the say so test, but I'm just say so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting to see like which ones stick, which ones kind of, you know, change over time as the medium kind of evolves and adopts and takes on, you know, Western entrepreneurial flavors and how that merges in with the stuff that kind of grew out of that, you know, Eastern corporate structure that kind of, you know, engineered a lot of the structures that we still kind of think of VTubers as going through. As a late adopter or a late arrival to the VTubing soon, and I never really consumed any Hololive or any of the classic idol stuff that I think folks probably a lot of folks were initially exposed to. I had it was a learning curve for sure, picking up on the like, oh wait, what are you talking about? This is this all seems very artificial and strange. Why not just hop on and do whatever you want? But there's something kind of charming sometimes about learning the community. You know, we call them not mores exactly, but I guess there's a little bit of that. But like the community
Yeah.
culture, you know.
Well, and actually, that does bring up a point. One of the people in my chat here mentioned that they don't even know what a debut is. And that's reasonable because I haven't done a debut, because to me, it has never really been important. Speaking of which, hey Amara, hey Eva. In that situation, the the whole idea of a debut and what it actually entails is something that is very interesting, because I came in from my prior public creative outlet was being involved in theater. And so the terminology from that area is the words are the same, but they mean different things. And I
Right,
think
yeah.
that's something that's worthwhile to sort of touch on.
Yeah, how is it
so
like a premiere? How is it different from a premiere?
it's very different from a premiere if you
Mhm.
follow the more structured way of doing a debut that a lot of people seem to do in the more, for the more Asian VTubing cultural sort of things. Because weirdly enough, I keep winding up finding myself watching Filipino and Filipino VTubers. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the time of day for me, but yeah. So I've seen a few of that sort of style of debut, but if you compare it to what a US style debut is, it's also different as well. So, um,
Well, for that curious person in your chat, what is a debut?
well, and I guess that really depends on what we're talking about. So if we talk about the more structured debut sequence, it's sort of a here I am, here is my character, this is what the character is about, here is some lore drop, that sort of thing.
Yeah, often has a PowerPoint display with your lore that people walk through
yes.
for some reason.
God, the number of PowerPoints I've sat through, and that's all somebody's streaming, and all I can think of is, God damn it, I left corporate IT. Leave me alone. I do not want to see more PowerPoints.
Paul Grovid rolling over in his grave right now. I saw his debut and I'm like, whoever put your PowerPoints together, ooh. Huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues I have with the way a lot of people do PowerPoints because having sat through corporate PowerPoint presentations, I just so want to stab so many people in the face when I see a PowerPoint show up. But at the same time, when we get to the US, not everyone has the same sort of thing. I mean, when you look at, sort of the APAC debut, it's sort of here is a character, it has a lore, it has a story, it has a concept, it has all these sorts of things. But when you look at pardon me, thank you, Eva. Thank you for the subscription. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No,
Wasn't expecting to get a subscription in the middle of this, but hey, you know.
Mazel tov.
Yeah. So in terms of the US side of things, it's not always the same. It's not always there isn't always a lore drop. Sometimes the character is just here is what they are. There's no like special background lore and so on. And then you get people like me who don't do a debut but have a crap ton of lore that I'm hiding because nobody ever bothers to damn well ask about anything. So,
but you got that Google Doc ready whenever.
Oh, I don't even need a Google Doc because that's the nice thing about basing the character on shit you actually know backwards. So. And now, of course, my chat is throwing everything at me.
Yeah.
Careful, Bonnie's gonna get caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, well, it all comes in from the one direction, so I think Bonnie's probably safe there. Yeah, I mean, it sort of changes depending upon what is sort of needed for what people are trying to present.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you get people. I mean, then of course you get people like Squirrel. Squirrel is just, what can we say? I mean, lore. I think he's heard of lore, and I think he's scared of it.
We write it for him.
Yes, that's true. Speaking of which, we're talking about Squirrel now. We're required to talk about his merchandise. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, there's so much that can go in through that. So
yeah. And generally speaking, the way it's used sort of like colloquially on the VTuber Twitter, like a debut is really more about the hype and the build up than the actual event. It is just a stream. It's just a stream. You usually, I mean, shoot, I've seen folks do PowerPoint displays for fun.
And those people are weird.
And, their lore drops, they do their,
yeah.
But the whole idea is it's just a specific date that is completely arbitrary that you set as like, this is the day that I'm going to put a lot of my advertising effort into. Everybody please come. And that's really all it is.
There's also frequently, I've seen people use it for things like when they're switching models. So when they go into a new model. The
endless cycle of re-debuts.
Yeah. And you get others who will use a cheap model. And I say cheap model, sorry, let me rephrase what I'm meaning there. They use an inexpensive model. That's the
Sure.
better way of saying it.
Yeah.
To get started with sort of VTubing and figuring out their technology, figuring out what they need to do. Wow, that pie is weirdly shaped. I think
That
the
is
pickle.
weirdly shaped.
I think the pickle is doing something to it. I'm sorry, Space. We
The
got
space-time pickle has altered your pie, unfortunately.
that's quite likely because it is very much a space pickle. Um, so in terms of where was I before a pie landed on my head?
Talking about
Oh, people
model
who yeah,
upgrades.
yeah. So you'll get people who'll start with an inexpensive model to get going, figuring out their technology and so on, and they'll
Yeah.
build up or extend their character over that period, and then they'll get a model that they'll pay some cases way too much money for, just so that when they debut, they're showing off this new model. It's, much more in line with what they envisage for their characterization of what they want and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. And it's something to hype for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm very much in camp, do as I say, not as I do with that one, where like I see people tweet, like, by God, for God's sake, don't drop, multiple hundreds of dollars or more on a model before you've ever streamed. And I was like, well, okay, but what if I instead spent 200 hours in Vroid Studio and Unity before I ever streamed and built myself a mech suit of Unity assets around a model? I'm not going to pay, $500 for it, but I'm going to do $3,000 of labor on it. But that said, I was relatively confident. I mean, I've done radio and podcasting before. I know that I like to do that aspect of it. But I think it is generally good advice to like, hey, before you drop some Benjamins on a live 2D model, maybe figure out if you like streaming at all. Because there's
Yeah.
nothing sadder than that short story for sale live 2D model never worn.
Yep. Yep, that's the current modern one that is just, yeah. And that's
Do they have
also
any more?
what?
Do they have any more questions about what a debut was, or was that pretty much
No,
it?
I think that
Very
was
good.
it.
Okay.
And I think that's something interesting that Bonnie actually brought up there is that there seems to be two main camps of people who stream VTubing wise. I know it was in my list of things to bother about for a little bit. I wrote it down using horrible psych technical terms, which was self-efficacy versus self-esteem. And in this sort of case, I'm sort of thinking about the people who the VTubing aspect is not a technical challenge for them.
Mhm.
So they go and do the drop 3,000 hours in Vroid and Unity and all that because they can. They know it all. It's not a big deal. And their model does insane things that make me freak out every time I see them because, oh my God, I want that. And then you get other people who fall under the, well, I don't know why my model's not working. Everything's turned on, but why isn't it doing anything? And then it's like, yeah, that's because you don't actually have your camera turned on. Try doing that. Oh, look, it worked. Yay. That's
I always
trying very
assume
hard
that
to go to
people
the
make
extremes.
everything.
So
I don't know why I have that as a natural assumption, but like I have to like stop myself and remind myself like, well, actually lots of people like pay artists to like build their models or, to rig them. And for some reason my just default assumption is like, oh, everybody makes everything. Why would you pay? The Vroid is free. But like that's a really silly assumption on my part. I think it's just a projection. I just assume that everybody has the same mentality towards it as me, where it's like, well, I mean, what's time? Just sink a bunch of it.
Well, I happen to be in a weird situation because I have some
Wow,
pretty
that's a
decent.
big-
Because, well, first of all, you have a big hat. That's
I
a weird
do have a big
situation.
hat.
Sombrero.
Apparently, I'm allowed to have a big hat at the moment, so I will wobble my big hat around.
It's gone.
Okay. And yeah, Spacey over there, sitting there, making his comments over there. I think it's interesting because VTubing has such a wide range. I mean, something that I was really very much thinking about when you guys were talking about, people coming into this and how there's a lot of that discussion around, the big companies and that. But there's so many of us who don't have anything to do with the big companies. If you look at it like everything, majority of streamers don't have something to do with X, whatever X might be. And so a majority of VTubers are all doing things themselves in some way. Whether it's sucking up to a friend and making them do all their work for them. Hi, Spacey, I see you in Bonnie's chat.
The call out.
I have I did my start and end screens by myself on Google Slides and MS Paint.
Congratulations.
They look
I am
wonderful.
half self-sufficient.
That
And,
confidence, though, out the wazoo.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, a lot of what I try to do is I'm in a bit of a weird financial situation because I did have a former career in IT. So for me, money is less of a concern. I like to tell people that the best description I can say of where I am financially is that I own 2 houses in California. Which, yeah. So if I wanted
real
to,
estate.
I could potentially drop $5,000 on a live 2D model today and not really affect me. But I sort of want to help more than just myself with this. I want to help the community. So what can I do and understand so that I can help explain it to other people? I mean, Spacey ran into a lot of technical issues, most of which was stuff I could have helped before I knew anything about VTubing. But there's a lot of connectivity issues between OBS and
Tell me about
VC
it.
Face, and I mean, at the moment, I have this very strange setup where I have a second computer that runs my audio hookup and my main VC Face, and then sends across to my streaming PC a VNC network connection to run my VTuber Plus that gets pulled into the OBS that I use for the actual stream. So,
My God.
yes.
VTubing is complex. Some people do it from a laptop. Some people do it on Unreal Engine 5 with a separate,
Yeah.
separate phone, separate computer, and an entire room gussied up to the max in terms of
And
green
so many
screens and a
beautiful people are out
manipulatable
there doing
environment.
it on a toaster, and I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, the people who are PNG tubing off a potato, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because it shows the wide range of what's available technically. And I think it's actually really helpful as well because a lot of people sort of slipping back to the whole psychology behind things. A lot of people are scared of computers. It's a well-known psychological principle that if you get somebody to do something on paper, they can learn to do it really well. They'll find themselves quite okay and quite happy to do it. And then if you get them to do the same task, except you swap out the piece of paper and put a glowing CRT in front of them, they suddenly can't figure out what on earth is going on.
That's got to be hugely age variant. I can
Actually-
think of lots of little Zoomers out there that probably you put a pin in front of them and they're like, "How does this work?"
Surprisingly, it isn't, actually.
That's so interesting.
Humans are really built to do things with our hands and actually
Kinetically,
have
yeah.
them trigger and sort of do the things that we can. We want to actually control what we're doing ourselves. And as soon as you move it out to something else, it gets difficult for people. Yes, I agree, Space. Buffoon. Yeah, we're just gonna call Bonnie Boomer now.
Oh, confirmed boomer. I'm like 483 years old. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I won't. Yeah. Let's not deal with aging our characters. Or aging the people behind the characters. Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
Well, and that's one of the really nice things about being a VTuber as well. We're as old as our, as far as our interaction with other people. Whereas,
You are old or as young as you want to be.
yeah, exactly.
Until you open your damn mouth and chat calls you out for making an Ernest goes to camp joke.
Really? You're
"What?"
only going to go with that? You're not going to pull out something from the Archers or something? Wait, that's not a good choice because that thing's only been going for like 80 years now. No, I find that just being from a different country, because, born in Australia, it makes it really easy for me to slip away comments that would give away my age. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm Australian, so what are you going to do?
Nobody over here is gonna know what fairy bread is or whatever.
Oh.
Or drop bears.
Well, actually, yeah, most people don't know what drop is. Hoop snakes, some people heard of them. I mean,
We have
they're
hoop
a bit of a
snakes in
problem.
that's a North American critter too.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, here in California, they haven't heard of hoop snakes, so
Huh.
Yeah, I find that a little weird.
Yeah, I think that was a Colorado or more maybe
Oh.
a more Midwestern thing.
Yeah, that would make sense, actually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're in the mountainous regions up there, so it sort of makes sense that you have hoop snakes up there. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I can get away with saying that it's just I'm an Australian, so nobody really pays much attention to it.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, your general point is really like, I mean, it still stands. Like,
Yeah.
you do get to, define yourself in terms that are not generally accessible to your average performer. Like, I mean, you can obviously you can do, fictionalized characters, but I mean, in the VTubing community, I would say the bar for that is way out there. Like, it is everybody just running their own OCs.
Yeah.
By design, obviously.
well, unless you start
and-
dealing with some of the
Thank you
big
for the
corporate
raid.
things.
My ears.
Ah, Mazel tov.
Thank you, Moonlight Mushu, for the raid.
Ah.
Raid!
Raid Shadow Legends. Or better yet, Raid the Ant Killer.
Well, I was actually thinking, get the raid! But again, that's just an Aussie ad, I think. I don't think that ever got here.
Got nothing.
Don't remember if I've ever heard that one. I have heard the one very specific radio commercial that actually got an award for championing the swift, quick death of fire ants, but I don't know if
Hi,
that was
Jake Light.
Raid or not.
Hmm.
Hello, Moonlight.
Pardon me. I'm apparently impervious to,
Anvils.
anvils. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that bounced right
you
off
could
you.
also attribute it to the space-time pickle.
I could attribute it
that's
to the
true.
space-time pickle. I mean,
What's the
this,
damage resistance on that pickle?
but it's a +5 damage resistant pickle.
That's a good pickle.
With advantage.
Well, it most of the time has advantage, except if you're in a saltwater environment, and then it gives you disadvantage.
Oh.
So,
But yeah, it's interesting though that the medium, like, most people do not play exclusively a fictional character and they never break character.
yeah,
Like that's a something that I didn't realize. I mean, I realized it relatively fast, but I didn't realize looking from the outside in on the community. I thought everybody just had kind of a character that had, their own pre-existing lore, their own fiction, and when you were playing your VTuber character, you didn't. The whole thing was you didn't break immersion or whatever,
you don't break the fourth
Um,
wall.
but it doesn't take you long to realize, like, oh hell no, most people are doing something, you know, in my opinion, more interesting, which is sort of a meld of a fictionalized character and then themselves plus, you know?
Yeah.
Which
Well,
is
and then
part of streaming is it's really hard to just keep up a mask
yeah,
constantly if you're streaming, especially for multiple hours. You're gonna come through anyway. But I think it's a feature, not a bug.
yeah, and you also.
Unconsciously,
Oh, sorry, Citrus. Go on.
unconsciously, we started doing that around the time that social media became into existence, where researchers and
Mm.
social scientists realized that the individual profile using the tools that you had access to and the content that you chose to post on social media was not exactly a one-to-one match on who you were,
Yeah,
oftentimes combined with the online disinhibition effect, which basically posits that our inhibitions go down when we are presented with the ability to remain anonymous, yet still post images,
yeah.
thoughts, and feelings.
Although
We,
not even always just anonymous, like sometimes just being on a computer screen. Like people post some wild shit on Facebook and they're not anonymous, but for
oh
some
yeah,
reason it's just like you're online. The rules are suspended for you for some reason. But yeah, it's even more so with a mask. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, and honestly, it's something that we've seen for generations prior with all sorts of other techniques to be able to stand back from who we were. I mean, this is the type of thing that we used to talk about people who would get on TV, even if they're just being interviewed for the local news as, concerned citizen on the street. They act differently as soon as they
Yeah.
can get in that sort of space. And it's very much a thing that's been around in the theater community for
Oh, millennia.
the Greeks knew about it. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah.
And that's just in Western cultures. I mean, if you look in even in amongst Chinese and Japanese theater tradition, it's been a well-known, established concept from there. Um, and it's also, I find interesting that there's a lot of the same camaraderie I saw in the theater community that's traveled over into the VTubing community. There's a lot more. You've been through it. You know what's going on. You've been in the trenches. You've fought the battles. You've had the scuff take over, and it's just a sort of well understood scenario. And so there's a lot of sort of connection that way with everything, and so it's sort of interesting.
mm-hmm.
Jake like says he wanted people to take him somewhat seriously, so his VTuber self is just him as a lawyer who likes Ace Attorney. Yeah. yeah. I think a lot of us take on a persona that is
Yeah.
sort of, I mean, you choose some strange things sometimes. Like if I had to actually explain to you like the thought process that went into, well, why a vampire, why Dracula's daughter, why did I inherit a cursed castle, it would take a long time to really kind of like pull all those pieces out. But like at its core there were there was a reason, for why those things vibed with what I wanted to bring out of myself. um but yeah, I think probably everybody can kind of
Yeah, I don't.
We gotta relate to that.
I don't really understand citrus being a orange slice, but hey,
I do.
each to their own. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
and I could tell you my backstory as to why this characterization in a nutshell.
If we
But
wanna
that's the
do
thing, though.
that,
So
and then we can talk about self-actualization through VTubing.
no,
Something
no,
particularly
let's not.
different.
Most people,
No?
most people get that term mixed up. Sorry. Anyway, that's just. Sorry, I am a psych geek, so the whole idea of somebody
we
used
can
the term,
educate.
and I'm like,
Well, then what's the correct term?
well, let's talk about that after we finish talking about this thing. Because otherwise, I will absolutely derail the conversation more than it needs to be.
Okay.
One step at a time.
Yes. I put it
I need to
one
do
step
something
at a
else.
time.
I'll deal with something. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep talking.
So for me, when it came to choosing my character, Bonnie mentioned that by her it would be a long sort of story. For me, it's just a simple matter of the traditions behind the Fae have been something I've been very interested in my entire life. I understand them very, very, very well. The Australian Pagan Society, for example, I was involved with for quite a few years. And during that, there's a lot of discussion about the old traditions. And so it was like, okay, I need to play, I want to do a VTubing character. I've got Vroid. What am I going to do? And immediately it was, oh, well, I have to be a Fae, clearly. Because they are the easiest thing for me to really sort of fit in with. And I didn't have to go to sort of trying to meld myself in with some sort of anime lore sort of idea.
Sure.
It was a tradition set that I understood so well that as I was putting the character together in Vroid, I'm going, oh, the ears have to be this shape because of this X, Y, and Z. The eyes are this color because of this. Hair is this color because of that. Skin tone is because of this. And clothing is because of this. And it's like all the way down through. I'm like, bam, 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 bam. Everything lines up. Everything you can see on my character has a reason. And yet, when you look at the character, and this is the other reason point as well, is when you look at the character, she looks mostly human.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a few little giveaways. I'm not sure if you
yeah.
can see it if I
The
twist the
classic
little
tells.
the little ear spikes. But I also kept them as close as I could. And the idea was because of the type of face she actually is. So, there's a lot in there which my chat hasn't bothered to ask any questions about.
Hey, Iliath's chat. You've been called out multiple times for not asking about the lore drops. Get on it.
There was also a massive lore drop yesterday that nobody mentioned.
Just slept on it.
Yeah. I was at the end of a stream I was doing as a collab stream. Somebody redeemed a redeem that I'd added. That I had to shut down for the stream because it requires a lot of technical support.
One of those redeems, huh?
Yeah. Well, when you're switching between models and things, it causes a lot of back and forth, back and piece. So back and piece. I can word very goodly at times. Yeah, it requires a lot of random program support and so on, and that's sort of the other aspect of it is that's something I have to be comfortable doing myself in the moment as the streamer.
Yeah.
And so, and to be honest, as much as I'm training to be a therapist, I'd much rather do that than deal with people most of the time. And it's honestly, I think a lot of it is just because of how I think about people. Um, People are flighty, scared, terrified, um, entities who are extremely stupid. Individual humans can be extremely intelligent, brave, strong, very capable, and all of that. But when you look at people as a whole, I mean, honestly, just
I mean, just look out the window.
yeah. I mean, if you're allowed to touch grass right at the moment, um, then you're in a good place compared to a lot of people, and that's
Yeah.
sort of the issue. And a lot of it has to do with the simple fact that um, we have very distinct sort of aspects of ourselves as a society. There's different groups of things, and VTubing is one of those ways we can cut through those boundaries for a lot of people. I know I had met someone through VTubing that if I had met them in person, I probably would never have spoken to them.
Sure.
Things about them, things about their background and their history and where they're at the moment, we would never have started talking to each other at all. But I consider them to be one of my, strongest friends at the moment. So
Yeah. And that's certainly a dynamic that, it is very, I don't know, that's well established in various internet communities,
yeah.
and the wow, from all walks of life, kind of thing.
Well, and it's
You're
been
like, I
stuff.
would never have imagined that I'd be, in a raid group with, somebody from this background or what have you.
Oh,
But here we are.
it was really weird back when I was originally playing WoW, and I found myself in raid groups with people who yeah, let's just say that they and I were very much on opposite sides of the political
Sure.
aisles.
Yeah.
Um, and yet, that sort of connection. And actually, Spakesy makes a really wonderful point here. Meetings, because none of us are as dumb as all of us are.
That's well phrased.
Yeah, and I think it's a quote from someone, actually. And all I will say, Spacey, is Challenger. And I don't need to say any more than that, I hope.
Spacecraft?
Well, right up until they needed another 7 astronauts. Oh, was that too soon?
Oof. I mean, there's got to be a statute of limitations, but oof.
That's sort of one of the things that's also interesting culturally for Australians. I mean, literally, I watched that launch live at school. Taking a bunch of kids in primary school and having them watch the launch of a teacher into space and having that happen.
Yeah.
Then probably not the right thing to be doing.
Well, I guess they didn't expect it to go so
Back on
poorly.
the topic of making friends, I can actually recall a very recent example. I recently met somebody that I knew over the VTuber community, and after a while, no, no, it's not after a while, but I've known them for a while, and then they recently came up to where I live, and we spent about 4 to 5 hours actually, interacting with the flesh behind the mask. And it was
Oh.
only afterwards that I realized I have no idea what their actual name is, and there's no idea what my name was.
That's
It
wonderful.
occurred to me when I had a individual ask, "So what's their name?" And I paused there for a second. I'm like, I got no idea. But
Well,
we
their name is
interacted,
insert vtubing handle here.
Yeah.
I guess, but I never used it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one's the real you?
Yeah.
There's a prevailing psychological theory or one prevailing hypothesis that used to be we could isolate IRL in real life activities, thoughts, and ideas from who we were online. But the more that technology has increased and the more that lives are slowly being offloaded and facilitated online, it's no longer black and white, it's far more opaque.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, and I think a
Um,
lot of clinical psychologists will tell you that the answer is both of them and neither. Um, Code switching is a thing that we do throughout our entire lives.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person with you two as I am when I'm talking to Squirrel privately. And I'm not the same person when I'm talking to Squirrel as I would be talking to the other VTubers I know. I mean, we all present as a different person in different scenarios. The person I am around my partner is very different than the person I am around my VTuber friends.
And Citrus, you brought up the idea of the avatar, right?
Mhm.
From the Hindu mythology, right? Being the incarnation of a god. But like, yeah, we also know from Buddhist thought that there ain't no there ain't no God in the middle. There's no essential self. We are various avatars at various times. Your meat
Mhm.
body that you met your friend in is an avatar. Your orange wedge imp body is an avatar. And they're an avatar of what exactly? Something very hard to pin down.
Well, I mean, the meat body is actually pretty easy to pin down. Oh, sorry, wait.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're not supposed to talk about those things on Twitch.
Reject flesh, return to plant-based matter. Come on. Get with the times.
I'll praise the new flesh. Yes.
Well, as my favorite comment I saw recently, I'm not a very vegetarian because I love animals. I'm a vegetarian because I hate plants.
Specifically kale.
I'm not a vegetarian at all. I'm a fooditarian. I eat food.
Citrus, can you drop me some lore? What do orange wedge imps eat?
Ooh.
Imps?
You're an imp, right?
No.
Oh, I don't know where I got that from. I think you introduced yourself as an imp at some point.
That might have been around the time I was still thinking of the Dullahan lore, which didn't work, and
Uh-huh.
I tossed out the window at some point.
I gotcha.
Um,
I'm sorry, I added it to my own personal Citrus lore doc.
oh,
Like,
Got
Orange
added to
wedge
headcanon.
Got
okay.
It worked
right
so
now
well
I'm
because I
eating
had this
M&Ms.
whole I had this whole wrestler introduction for you in my mind. Where it was like, prepare to simp for the orange wedge imp. Citrus
Oh.
catastrophe.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Citrus, you should steal that.
Yeah.
I'll nightlight as an imp, sure. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. In terms of my lore, pretty much I just look for a Twitch name. Citrus Catastrophe with an E wasn't available. For Citrus Catastrophe was a Y was available, and I was hit with a deluge of possibilities, so I rolled with it.
I like it.
And that's everything after that has literally been winging it. But
Yeah.
it's brought me to where I am today. So
I'm still salty that there's just a Banicula out there with, just one, like no activity for years. I hope she's doing okay, but I'm grumpy that she had the name.
So Twitch was founded. Within the first month, I found out about its existence, and so tried to sign up for an account. Someone had taken Iliath. I have been using Iliath online since the late 80s.
Yeah.
It is mine!
It's yours.
Old Tasmanian Devil right now.
Soliciting more lore, Iliath, does that have a mythological or folklore origin?
Honestly, that name has, well, it has very much a mythological slash folklore origin, but not related to my character,
I
as she
gotcha.
stands. Um, anyone who's a vague student of Greek mythology, or storytelling, I'm sure has heard of the work by Homer known as the Iliad.
Sure.
Yeah, I was a lazy shit when I was in my teen years and just said, I need a name for my stuff online. I know, Iliad. No, someone's going to have taken that. Let's change the D for TH. Bam, done.
Iliad 2. Iliad 69.
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
Iliad. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, quite literally, that's how the name thing came to be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did the name come first or the concept of the VTuber?
For
Of
me,
attaching Iliath to, of using that name that
Oh,
you've been
wait, no,
using for so
yeah.
long?
I'm sorry, that's a stupid question. You already answered that.
Oh,
You'd be using the name long before you thought of the character.
well,
there are no
actually,
stupid questions.
before I was streaming, I was using a slightly different form of Iliad. I switched to Iliath the Fae when I was going to start streaming.
Gotcha.
So, in answer to your question, yes and no. Did we lose?
No, I'm still
hear-
here.
I was going to say that would have been weird because everything's been going so terrible up until now. Because if
yeah.
I say the word I was going to say, everything was going to break.
Knock on wood, knock
So,
on wood.
yeah, everything has been
Avert.
going terrible up until now.
I think everything's been going fine.
Oh no. Yeah, well let's I think we've navigated some of those waters. What's another point on the docket of ideas that we had?
Emotional support VTubers?
Emotional support VTubers.
Oh god.
Okay.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. In the doc here. Yeah. You want to start
lay
off
it
the
on me.
discussion?
So, along with the many hot button topics or tweets that will suddenly pick up a rocket of quote retweets, 200, 300 plus comments in 5 hours, one topic that has been parroted by many VTubers who are pretty much uncomfortable with the topic is the idea of being used as a crutch for emotional support.
Sure.
Let me read one particular tweet.
Tweet?
Woo. Well,
Queet.
Queet! Queet!
Let me read one particular tweet. I'd like to reiterate that VTubers are not your therapists. I try to be nice and understanding, but please, for the love of God, remember that I don't like people treating me like some outlet to vent about their problems. If you have issues, go to a therapist, not my DMs. Another tweet says, this happened briefly last night during stream, but I thought I'd mention it really quick. I understand that after a hard/rough day, it's 100% valid to want to vent and release those negative emotions, but streamers in general aren't your therapists. This particular sentiment I saw echoed way back when I first started doing VTubing, and it just pops up from time to time as what originally started as someone might just be gaming with extra people for fun, or someone who really wants to be an entertainer, now finds themselves in the odd position of people unloading emotional duress, emotional baggage, emotional stress in a
Emotional
situation
damage.
that too Or say a streamer is attempting to unload emotional damage and the chat wants, you know what, hey, you have a stick of TNT, I got a box, let's go. So
Yeah.
the idea, and I would say this has happened, but this has been a very long, probably well-studied phenomenon in terms of online emotional venting, but particularly in the pandemic era, where a considerable amount of people lost contact with friends and started, going inside.
Mhm.
Everyone had to go inside at some point. A lot of people decided to, well, not really decided to, but VTubers in general, I would say streamers in general do this, but particular to VTubers because I see it a lot. Individuals who would go online and find themselves pretty much at the mercy of problems that they can't address, problems they don't want to address, or problems that they don't want to handle, are expressing a bit of lostness, a bit of insecurity having facing these trials. I would say when I was 11, 12 years old, I had a similar situation come up while I was just playing a Minecraft multiplayer server. I
Mhm.
was friends with this one individual from another state, and they were around my age. One night they came on and they basically said point blank, you know what, this is goodbye because I'm going to go kill myself. And I'm like, I'm not ready for this conversation. Mom, get over here.
Yeah.
Um, Part of what influenced me to get a psychology degree myself was because I didn't necessarily want to be put in another situation where all I could say was, this is my best guess. When
Yeah.
I ever encounter those situations again, outside of being a much better listener than I was previously, I could say this is not just my best guess. I could give them concrete, supported, and kind. I mean, if not kind, fair, and if not fair, at least firm, or at least looking out for their best interests. But
Yeah.
the ability to answer questions I wasn't able to. And
Yeah.
suddenly in the VTuber community, I would say a lot of individuals are suddenly finding themselves at the rear end of conversations they were either not prepared for or conversations that they became a VTuber to
Specifically avoid.
avoid.
Yeah.
hmm There is a very recent tweet by Kim Rai that actually talked about. Oh, I just saw it while scrolling. Give me a few seconds while I find it. Y'all
Sure.
can chime in on the topic, but this one's parallel.
Well, and I think just sort of chiming in on the topic here, as someone who's undergoing the training to be a licensed therapist, I would never provide therapy services or even therapy-like services through vtubing. As in through the streaming interaction, not through doing this online. I mean, I can actually see that it would be very useful for working with certain individuals using something like a VTuber model, either for them or for you as the clinician. But therapy is too personal a thing to do through something like Twitch or
Oh,
YouTube live
certainly.
streams or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck it
That'd be
might be.
disastrous. Disastrous.
Well,
The kind of intimacy that it requires, the vulnerability and
yeah, I
like,
wouldn't say it's necessarily disastrous because by the time someone's gotten to a point where they feel willing to open up about those topics in such a public setting, which it is, they're not going to see it as being that impactful to them. The problem is the issue is from how therapy works. It actually isn't really going to do anything for them long term. It might help in a crisis situation.
Sure.
And honestly, I've been doing crisis work now since the late 90s.
Yeah,
Well
and I
before
suspect that's probably what a lot of people are kind of like not knowing what they're asking for, but asking for in those moments of like boundary overstepping in
Yeah,
people's like live streams. It's like, I'm having a crisis. Help
yeah,
me in this immediate moment because my brain is like, you know, it's hurting.
yeah. And things is for me, I have the training to know how to head that sort of discussion off and direct someone to people who can actually help them in the moment. But I'm not sure where Citrus is in his training, but I don't expect you to be at the same level of being able to handle that, Bonnie. Nor do I expect any of the other VTubers that I know to be at that level. Because it does take. People don't talk about those things in public. We
Right.
don't have. It's if someone says something like, I'm going to commit self-unalives, and I'm trying to keep away from using certain words because the Twitch algorithm systems get
Sure.
very, very weird. If someone says they're going to do that, that's not something most people know how to even respond to at all. I mean, it's such a very abnormal thing for people to hear. So it's very difficult.
Yeah, and that's why people post those tweets, because somebody coming in with a real crisis like that or trauma dumping something really heavy can completely derail your ability to focus, you know, like even if you can move on from that specific comment or whatever, or you have your mods, you know, see the person out with a kind word and a pat on the head, like it's still going to really throw you off your game.
Well, and it also throws off the entire channel.
Yeah.
The other viewers aren't interested in. They're not there to listen to you help somebody like that.
Yeah.
They're there for whatever they're there for. And I say it that way because we are talking about VTubers here, so which covers everything from lewd tubers to say-so tubers. And, you know, sometimes people talk about heavy things. I mean, I randomly talk about random psychological issues in my streams because people bring them up and I'm willing to talk about them.
Yeah.
But at the same
but
time...
that is different than, yeah, there is a line.
Yeah. I mean, sort of the line for me is I'm not there to be your therapist. And if I happen to be your therapist and you're in my stream, I am no longer your therapist.
Right.
If someone came into my stream who actually was my client and was able to recognize me from some reason, which
awkward.
is actually more likely than you might think, because of the... I mean, if you think about it, the interaction between a therapist and a client is so very intimate. It's much more likely than people would generally think.
Sure.
If they're going to continue watching my streams, I am going to stop being their therapist.
Right. Yeah.
Because I can't provide services to them properly if they're watching my streams.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's also... I'm less worried about them in the initial moment than I am about the rest of my viewers.
Yeah. Yeah, because it has a splash effect for sure.
Yeah. I'm worried about the rest of my viewers. I'm worried about the viewers who are... Some of them... I get the people in my streams who are having bad days. And everybody has the people in their streams who are having bad days. It turns out we're all human, and humans just have bad days once in a while. It's a thing that happens. I know, it's shocking.
Yeah. Space Buffoon says, I see a lot of Discord servers have a venting channel, and I have myself vented to a friend offline, and I think both of those things are valid. Both are just a means of getting something off your chest. But trauma dumping on a live stream kind of feels like you are seeking something more than to get something off your chest, be it attention, acknowledgement, or a quote unquote answer.
Yeah. There's also an interesting bit of psychological, I'm going to say knowledge, but put air quotes around that.
Okay.
That society has taken on, that is this idea that venting is a good thing, that releasing feelings of anger is a good thing. And it turns out it's not. It's actually not a good thing. And we can talk about it for very, like, I mean, I could get into the weeds here of the actual psychological principles involved. But think about it from this perspective. Whatever your beliefs are, religious or spiritual, the scientific evidence at the moment supports the idea of evolution, the theory of evolution.
Sure. Right.
And so my commentary here is going to be based on that ideology.
Okay.
Now I do it that way, honestly, because myself personally, I am religious, but I do love watching skeptic and atheist channels. And I have very much a scientific bent, so I do have interest in an understanding of that. But I'm also quite readily able to mate my religiosity with my scientific viewpoint. Science is just a way to understand the world.
Sure.
I am also not Christian. That's as far as I'm going to say on stream. When it comes to anything that humans do, there's a learning process involved. We learn how to do everything through trial and error. We're better able to learn things than almost every other animal that we have found on the planet. Now, I say almost because, well, I shouldn't say almost every other animal we have found. I would say that we are better able to learn things than every other animal we have found on the planet, which allows for we haven't found an animal that could learn better than us yet.
Sure.
And a lot of that has to do with the way we have developed as a species over time. So what does that have to do with venting and anger, letting out anger and all that? Well, there are tried and true techniques to teach certain things to people. And you can teach this to any organism on the planet. And I say organism because I literally mean everything from plankton through human beings to even far more complex things like mayflies. And yes, biologically speaking, mayflies are far more complex than humans.
Sure.
And it's just, if you take complexity as number of active genes in a genome, mayflies are insanely complex compared to human beings.
All right, bring us back to the...
Yeah. So what winds up happening is every time we do something, an action happens as a result of it. We get something out of it. We learn something from doing that action. So take, for example, I assume, Bonnie, that you have driven before?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
I drive for a living.
Right. Have you ever gotten into your vehicle and not put your seatbelt on? What's the first thing that's going to happen when you start the vehicle?
I'll have a tiny panic.
Well, okay. After you have your panic, the vehicle is doing something. What is it doing?
What do you mean? If
It's still driving.
Well, it'll still drive, but there's going to be a goddamn annoying beeper.
Oh, sure.
Some loud, obnoxious noise that is just pisses you off.
I drive a good old truck. It don't bother me.
Well, my brothers used to show me how to get rid of those things and stuff. And he used to have a car that, yeah, it didn't have, it didn't have seatbelts originally, so it didn't have to get them added. Anyway, the whole point is that beeping, that obnoxious, annoying beep, is intentional.
Sure.
Because if you're gonna shut the friggin' beeper off, how do you do it? Put your seatbelt
You
on.
got to do the thing. Yeah.
So if you get in the car and you go, I don't want to deal with that beeping, put the seatbelt on, you have been taught to put your seatbelt on to get rid of that annoying beeping sound.
Yeah. You got conditioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, operant conditioning. It's not the standard, Pavlovian classical conditioning sort of situation. But it's very basic learning theory. And that's sort of, from there we get more complex. Humans have the ability to look ahead, so do a lot of other animals. Magpies and ravens and crows and that are actually really good at this type of learning skills, where they can figure out that if I do something now, way down the track, I'll get something else that I want, even if in between it's a little bit problematic for me more than other things. And
Sure.
humans do that too. We do that all the time. So let's think about this. I've had a bad day. I can go into this chat room thing and just dump it all out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't actually address the issue. But it makes me feel better. What happens tomorrow?
Well, if you have a bad day, you might just come back and do it again, right?
Well, but why would you have a bad day?
Because you didn't actually address the thing.
Exactly. And that's sort of the issue with things like venting or letting out anger or anything like that. So I actually have a problem with Discord servers that have a vent-only channel. There's no one else there to try and provide some support. Nobody is allowed to help or try to help. And there are servers that I've come across that have that. Because of this methodology, this basic portion of learning theory, you're training people to just come and yell at the clouds and then still have a bad day and still have the same problems. So we don't want them to have those problems, though. So now, the flip side of it is a lot of people have we'll have a vent channel, but we don't want people providing support because they don't want people who don't know anything trying to help.
Sure.
Oh my goodness! Thank you for the raid again. My ears.
You keep getting
Hello,
raided.
Marion.
Look at that. Wow. That's good.
Hi, Raiders.
Hello.
Hello, Raiders. And I think it's important to think about these things from the perspective of, is there anything other people can do to help with someone's ability to address the concern that caused them to need to vent in the first place?
Oh, I mean, sometimes somebody may just be dealing with a feeling of being unheard. That they don't have a confidant in their family or in their friends group where they can just like say a painful thing out loud and have somebody, give it a little heart emoji. And maybe that is, obviously that doesn't address the thing that made them feel bad, but
actually,
just the feeling of being unheard.
That feeling of being unheard could be what needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that it should be allowed to be, people should be allowed to respond to those sorts of things. They shouldn't just be shouting into the void, because it doesn't in any way try to address things. Now, I have a lot of training as a therapist. I mean, At the moment, I'm in the process of interviewing for doing pre-doctoral internships, and I've already done a couple of years of basic, basic therapy work. So, effectively, what I'm doing is the way I describe it to people who don't understand psychology. I'm doing the doctoral residency that you see in all the TV shows about ER doctors.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not yet officially a doctor, but I'm one of the trainees that wander around. Um, so I have a lot more experience than a lot of other people, but I wouldn't have even tried to help somebody address a lot of those issues because, as Buffoon is mentioning in your chat, there's a lot of specificity to a person's concerns. I mean, I don't know enough about what's going on with someone's life to be able to give them a here's a way out of whatever you're dealing with right now. And so, but having people sort of recognize that it's a place where people can offer a little bit of advice, but even if, as I managed to get one server to change it, even if we have people who are qualified to help you, they're not going to, because that isn't that isn't the place to do that. And it's definitely not the place to do it in somebody's live stream chat.
Yeah. Have either of you seen somebody respond really well if somebody is trauma dumping? I mean, almost everybody whose stream I go into has it in their rules, like no trauma dumping, you know.
Actually, I had checked.
We'll ban you or what have you. But have you actually seen somebody like handle it really well? And what did they do?
Never seen it.
Never seen it?
Nope. Best I've seen is that this isn't the time for that, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, I think that might be it. I mean, that's one of a variety of strategies, but sometimes, just the this isn't the time or place, said frankly and firmly. Ideally, I think probably there may be, a perfect, line between like, I'm really sorry that you're having such a bad day. I'm sorry that we can't address it during this stream. We're doing something else, something like that where you can, I don't know, very quickly, shut them down, but also indicate like, but it's not because you're bad or that the way you're feeling isn't bad. Or it feels bad, but you are not bad for feeling it, but this is not an appropriate place to express that in this way because we can't help you here. There's got to be, I don't know. I'm curious what the ideal response might be.
Yeah, well, I've never seen anyone actually address such a thing in a manner that I would consider appropriate. But I think, Bonnie, you're on the right track. It would be how I would approach it. I mean, I would make the point of I am basically trained to be a therapist at this point, and I'm not going to have this discussion with you in an open chat room because this is not the appropriate place. If you need help right now, give me a quick moment and I'll grab grab a couple of places, sort of the which country are you in so I can go to my list of here's some support networks that can help you right now. But open chat is not really a place for it. What's Buffoon saying here? I think humans aren't equipped mentally for how this world works and everyone should get at least some kind of therapy. Some things are wrong and are proof that X person is in a sensitive or toxic situation that needs to be fixed and not just brushed aside. But sometimes just shouting at the void or getting reassurance from a friend can be enough for a smaller frustration. I would say getting reassurance from a friend, I agree. Shouting at the void doesn't do anything to try to address the issue. And that leads to a feedback loop that is how I deal with the issue. It's effectively bottling up the emotion without the bottle. And we've started to recognize societally that bottling up the emotion is bad. So
Hi, Slump Neko. Hi.
getting to a point where we need to sort of get also to the point that just venting is bad. We need to do something to address whatever is going on with our concern.
Sure.
Heck, support networks, talking to friends about issues, that is some of the best things that you can do as a individual trying to work through situations. It's the profession of psychology wants to move things to a position that therapists will never be needed. I do not want to have a job as a therapist. I would much prefer to just be teaching about psychology. I recognize, however, that therapists are needed at this time. There's a lot that's wrong with our society. There's a lot wrong with how we interact with each other in our society. There's a lot of things that we just do that are wrong. And I say that not from the perspective of, I think there's a better way, but the way we're doing things at the moment are demonstrably, verifiably wrong. They're not working.
Sure.
So, and the more
and sometimes the fault is not in the individual.
Oh, actually,
it's society.
a
What's
lot
sick.
of times it is the societal problems. I mean,
yeah,
not trying to. Just sort of one of the other things that comes up a lot. It was something that I found that was really fascinating when I started. After I started getting into VTubing, my because of course Google is watching over us as an evil overlord should. It started giving me academic article references to stuff that's going on in the VTubing community, which I found very interesting because the most fascinating one that came up is one about how a large number of VTubers are doing it because, well, I would say because they're trans, but being a VTuber allows them to express themselves as who they are in a way that isn't possible for them in their day-to-day lives.
Sure.
And so it was just sort of interesting that I just started getting those sorts of things and looking through some of this stuff. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool. And oh, look, that makes sense. Oh, look,
funniest tweet I saw on the subject was I think somebody was like, people who come into a stream and get mad because they found a VTuber who's trans is like going into the forest and being angry that you saw a squirrel.
I would say a tree, to be honest.
Yeah, a tree. Yeah, exactly. Citrus, do you have any closing thoughts on this subject?
I mean, not really. At that point, it just went over my head, so I just let the topic flow.
I gotcha. I just wanted to bring you into. We are coming in on the 2-hour plus mark. So I think we should probably start wrapping up the discussion for this this episode of Two Ladies and a Fruit. So what do you have anything that you'd like to close out on?
There are particular topics that the audience thought warranted discussion. We can pick it up at a later date, write it down, and look it up later.
Yeah. Be happy to solicit from any of the various chats input on things that maybe could bear more inspection.
Yeah, definitely. Please let us know if there's anything that you'd be wanting to hear more about. We do have a short list of things that we're willing to continue with. Would greatly appreciate knowing whether or not you, the audience, liked this sort of discussion. And if you want to hear more from us, there's also the maybe once we've got things a little more scheduled, maybe we might be interested in seeing about expanding the roundtable a little bit, with guest slots or something. So, um,
Marion, basically, we all came together and we were very interested in specific topics surrounding the VTuber community. So we just decided to get together on a stream, do kind of a roundtable discussion, and talk about it. Um, I'd like to give a summary of what we talked about, but I'm drawing a blank right now. uh, we just finished talking about the occurrence when individual chat members might decide to emotionally vent on a streamer's stream or vent in their Discord, along with some of the implications of that. We also recently went over what was it? Some of the language that comes from the virtual YouTubing sphere, as well as some of the origins of VTubing themselves. And then we also talked about self-efficacy versus self-esteem. VTubers who are very driven and very art inclined, as opposed to others who may not be so art inclined, but are particularly adept entertainers in their own rights. What else did we cover?
We did lengthy introductions of the ways one can get into VTubing in the first place, and the distinctions between, the corporate structures and the ones that emerge in intra-community.
Yep. And I think it's also worthwhile mentioning that this one we aimed it as a thoroughly unstructured, let's just talk about what's in our minds about things.
Yeah.
Just in case people look at this and go, wait, what was the point? The point was to have a pointless discussion, basically, not sort of focus on anything. I think we've had a pretty good discussion. We've had a pretty decent response of things. I'm getting comments from my chat here to say that they've found it interesting, and they actually think it's something they would like to see more of. So that's good.
Yay!
Something Marion just said, VTubing has actually helped my confidence quite a bit, surprisingly. So, VTubing has...
I will say I'm not surprised about the fact that it has boosted somebody's confidence. And I have reasons to do with that, which we can address next time if we want to. So...
Yeah, I can attest. It is weirdly good for your confidence. Certainly didn't imagine that I'd be singing the Pizza Nova jingle. But here I am. Singing on stream.
Is there anything coming from your chat vernacular?
Folks just saying their various good nights.
Okay. So let's say we triple raid somebody.
Yeah.
All at once.
Yeah, all at once.
Who do we have available? We
I
have
know
lots of different people. So.
I know Arisu is doing their Extra Life 24-hour giveaway, capped subathon. Well, it's not really capped subathon, it's a capped donathon, my bad. But actually, if any of y'all had a pre-affiliate streamer that needs help, we can viewer dump on them and get them affiliate off the rip. Let's go for it.
That's sort of what I was looking at. No, well, actually, no, that guy's not streaming right now. They're just watching things.
There's Lay Shroom. She's very nice.
Are they pre-affiliate?
Yeah. No, I think they're affiliate. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have anybody pre-affiliate in my list.
Yeah,
No,
none of the pre-affiliates I'm following are streaming right now, so at least I don't think so. Let me check this one.
I'm about to say,
I mean, given the number
No,
of
yeah.
viewers, I doubt it, but
Yeah, Irasu is throwing in the towel for the night, so
Yeah.
we
Okay.
won't be. Oh, Slump Echo, you also sing on stream. I haven't caught that yet.
Got someone who's just doing a music stream. Just got their PNG on the front and they're just singing. I
Are
don't
they
know
a
if they're
VTuber?
leaving.
Yeah.
Mostly. PNG
Mostly.
tuber like
Oh,
me.
sure. Yeah.
Well, there's this PNG tuber I know who's in a Just Chatting stream at the moment. He's probably okay. He's got a weird PNG though. It's sort of an orange slice.
Degenerates.
The blessed fruit.
Yeah, I mean,
If
most.
that was sarcasm or not.
Okay.
I
So,
vote.
who do we have? Who are we doing?
I vote Leishroom. Leishroom.
I have no idea how to spell that. Do you want to dump that in the Discord chat so we can
Yeah.
copy that?
I will do that.
After we're done, very quickly, I want to bring us into the Discord chat for a 3-minute
Wrap up. Yeah.
wrap up.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Oh. Well, I just got our raid, so I'll say hello to my raid. Hey, raiders!
nice.
We're about to go raid somebody. Thank you for joining us. Hey, Luna. Hi, Andre. Hello, everyone else. We're just sort of wrapping up. Sorry you missed out what was going on. We have our sentient slice of orange here, which is Citrus Catastrophe. Want to say hi?
Hello.
And on the far end, we have Bonnie, who's currently being pixelated on my stream because, you know,
Oh no.
she just
Sorry.
doesn't really need to show a face in, you know, things at the moment. Want to say hi?
Hi. Sorry, I'm pixelated. I don't know what's going on.
Bonnie, are they playing the Elder Scrolls?
They are playing the Elder Scrolls. Yes.
Okay, got it. Just making
Yes.
sure we're all rating the same one.
Let me.
In case there was a multiple
the
raid
name.
streams.
Yep. So I have someone. We're all gonna go give someone who I believe is pre-affiliate. You said.
I don't believe that. I think
They're not
Leishroom
pre-affiliate,
is
but they
not
are
pre-affiliate.
pre-debut.
Yeah,
pre-debut. Okay.
Yeah.
So in that case, yeah. So everyone, feel free. We'll wander over. We'll say hi to this person who's playing Skyrim. I hope they're choosing it like the Spiffing Brit recommends. Any of the 12,000 different ways. So
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. My two collaborators, Citrus Catastrophe and Iliath the Fae. If anybody would like to swing by in about an hour, I will be doing another collab with Space Buffoon and Smoking Bandit VT. We'll be doing a smash or pass ranking of all the Castlevania creatures. It's gonna get weird.
yeah.
You mean it's going to be good?
It's gonna get good.
And yes, Luna, like the god that is Rihanna Caves. And if you don't get that, people, I'm sorry.
Rihanna Keeves. Oh boy. You're teth breaking.
All right, raid
Okay.
begun.
Okay.
The countdown begins. Thank you everybody who came by.
And of
the
course,
stream.
I'm getting
an
Thank you
ad
so much
right
for all
now.
the nice viewers.
Yeah, I just ripped it. I'm over there already.
Oh, Citrus ripped it.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you everybody for coming by. I will see all of you in about an hour, I hope. If not, have a great night. Y'all are very nice. Bye.
Bye, everyone.